Habs Nation. Have you ever seen a meticulously crafted roster built to dominate over 81 grueling games, crumble in an instant due to one ill-fated play? In the hyper-analytical, violently unpredictable ecosystem of the National Hockey League, a single block shot can shatter your championship geometry just as the postseason dawns. Today, we're sealing off the tactical war room to confront a dire reality. The Montreal Canadiens are entering the Stanley Cup playoffs under a state of absolute medical emergency. The first-round matchup is locked against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but the structural integrity of our blue line has suffered a catastrophic collapse. Grab your medical ledgers, pull up your time-on-ice spreadsheets, and brace for an unflinching breakdown. We're conducting a forensic audit of the Noah Dobson injury, the emergency activation of David Reinbacher, and why this playoff series just became an architectural nightmare. Let's dive straight into the mathematical and biological reality of what unfolded in the dying days of the regular season. During a seemingly routine game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, Noah Dobson made a split-second decision to step in front of the Zach Werenski slap shot. It was a courageous, team-first play, the kind of sacrifice that defines playoff-bound players. But the cost was devastating. I need you to freeze your analytical processing and grasp the absolute corporate disaster of that moment. Dobson sustained a severe upper body injury, and the medical staff has officially ruled him out for at least 2 weeks, completely erasing his presence from the opening stretch of the playoffs. This isn't a minor setback or a day-to-day concern. It's a structural implosion at the worst possible time, as the Canadiens gear up for the most critical games of the year. This isn't just about a missing body on the roster. It's the loss of an elite, foundational pillar of Montreal's defensive system. Dobson has been operating as a primary offensive engine from the back end, a dynamic force who's racked up 47 points this season, while chewing up an average of 22-29 of time on ice, TOI, per night. He's the linchpin of the transition game, dictating the geometry of breakouts with his elite puck-moving skills and vision. His ability to skate the puck out of danger or fire a precise first pass under pressure has been central to Montreal's ability to shift from defense to offense in a heartbeat. When you surgically remove your top puck-moving defenseman right before facing a structured, high-octane opponent like Tampa Bay, your breakout matrix collapses entirely. The Canadiens are now forced to navigate the highest pressure games of the season with a gaping operational void on the right side of their blue line, a flaw that could prove fatal against a team built to exploit weaknesses. Now, we must aggressively pivot our lens to the incoming threat. Because the stakes couldn't be higher, the first-round matchup is officially set. The Montreal Canadiens versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, a rematch of the 2021 Stanley Cup Final that still burns in the memory of this fan base. Let's conduct a quick audit of the enemy to understand the magnitude of the challenge. Tampa Bay has weaponized their offense around Nikita Kucherov, who just posted a terrifying 130 points this season, making him one of the most lethal playmakers in the league. In net, Andrei Vasilevsky remains a geometric anomaly, a goaltender capable of stealing games single-handedly with his otherworldly reflexes and positioning. This is a team that thrives in the playoffs, with a core hardened by multiple cup runs, and a coach in John Cooper who knows how to dissect opponents' flaws with surgical precision. Montreal, to their credit, enters this series with incredible kinetic momentum. Captain Nick Suzuki has just entered elite franchise territory by eclipsing the 100-point plateau, a historic achievement that underscores the potency of our offensive engine. Rookie sensation Ivan Demidov is producing a high level, adding secondary scoring punch, and the team has proven they can play physical, highly emotional hockey against the Lightning, beating them twice in the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Those victories showcase a Canadian squad capable of matching Tampa's intensity, grinding out wins with a blend of skill and grit. But playoff hockey is a different beast, a game of structural exploitation where regular season success can evaporate if a key weakness is exposed. Cooper is going to look at Montreal's decimated blue line and salivate. He'll design game plans to aggressively forecheck the replacement players, forcing our secondary defensemen into high-panic puck decisions under relentless pressure. Without Dobson's calming presence and elite transition skills, the Canadiens risk being pinned in their own zone, unable to escape Tampa's suffocating attack. When your primary infrastructure fails at such a critical juncture, front offices must execute emergency protocols to stop the bleeding. Enter David Reinbacher, the highly touted prospect who represents both hope and uncertainty in this dire moment. With Dobson headed to the triage unit, management immediately recalled Reinbacher from the Laval Rocket in the AHL, thrusting him straight into fire for his NHL debut against the New York Islanders in the final regular season games. This is the definition of a high-stakes corporate gamble. You're asking a young, developing asset, still climbing to the speed and physicality of professional hockey, to step onto the ice in mid-April and absorb the brutal violence of Stanley Cup playoff hockey. Reinbacher has shown kinetic upside in the minors, with strong skating, defensive awareness, and a knack for moving the puck, but the margin for error in this environment is absolute zero. A single misstep against a player like Kucherov or Braden Point could swing a game, or even the series, in Tampa's favor. Let's break down the risks and potential rewards of the Reinbacher activation. On the positive side, his fresh legs and hunger to prove himself could inject energy into a battered blue line. If he can handle the pace and make smart, simple plays to support veterans like Mike Matheson and Caden Gould, he might stabilize the right side just enough to keep the team competitive. His time in Laval has prepared him for pro-level physicality to some extent, and his hockey IQ, often praised by scouts, could help him adapt quickly to St. Louis systems. However, the downside is glaring. Playoff hockey is a meat grinder, especially against a team like Tampa Bay, who will target Reinbacher as the weak link. His lack of NHL experience means he's untested against elite competition, and any hesitation or turnover could be catastrophic. The mental toll of stepping into such a high-pressure situation for his first taste of the big leagues cannot be understated. Confidence can shatter under the weight of ROI mistakes. Now, let's audit the broader impact of Dobson's absence on Montreal's defensive strategy. Without their top puck mover, the Canadiens must overhaul their breakout approach. Dobson's ability to skate or pass out trouble was key to evading forechecks, but now, players like Matheson will shoulder an even heavier load, potentially leading fatigue over a long series. Secondary defensemen, including Reinbacher and possibly Adam Engstrom if called upon, will face increased minutes and tougher matchups, exposing any inexperience or defensive lapses. St. Louis will likely lean on a more conservative, dump and chase style to minimize risky passes through the neutral zone, but this plays into Tampa's hands. They excel at clogging lanes and turning turnovers into quick strike goals. The loss of Dobson doesn't just weaken one position. It ripples through the entire defensive structure, forcing a recalibration at the worst possible time. Let's also consider the psychological dimension of this injury. Dobson isn't just a statistical contributor. He's a leader on the blue line, a player whose composure under pressure sets the tone for younger defensemen. His absence could shake the confidence of the unit, especially for someone like Reinbacher stepping into uncharted territory. Conversely, it's a chance for the team to rally around adversity, to prove their depth and resilience. St. Louis will need to harness that next-man-up mentality, instilling belief that the system can hold even without a key cog. The Bell Center crowd can play a role here, providing an emotional lift with their energy, but the on-ice execution must match the passion of Montreal is to survive the early games of this series. Now, let's project the tactical adjustments St. Louis and his staff must implement to weather this storm. With Dobson out, expect an increased reliance on team-wide shot suppression, limiting high-danger chances by clogging the middle of the ice and forcing Tampa to shoot from the perimeter. Goaltender Jakub Dobson, who's been a revelation under Marco Marciano's coaching, will need to be at his absolute best, stealing games with clutch saves as the defense adjusts. Offensively, the Canadiens must capitalize on every opportunity, leaning on Suzuki's playmaking and Caulfield's sniping to keep pace with Tampa's firepower. Special teams become even more critical. Winning the power play and penalty kill battles could offset defensive vulnerabilities. St. Louis might also shelter Reinbacher's minutes early on, pairing him with a steady veteran like Matheson to ease the transition, while avoiding matchups against Tampa's top line whenever possible. Let's not ignore the broader context of this series. Despite the injury setback, Montreal has shown they can hang with Tampa Bay, as evidenced by those two recent wins. Suzuki's 100-point season proves the offensive engine is legitimate, capable of trading blows with the best in the league. Demidov's emergence adds another layer of scoring depth, and the team's physical edge, honed in those emotional victories over the Lightning, could be a factor in a grinding playoff battle. but the loss of Dobson mathematically shifts the entire series dynamic. What was once a matchup of near equals now tilts slightly in Tampa's favor, as their experience and depth give them an edge in exploiting Montreal's weakened blue line. Cooper will design schemes to isolate Reinbacher and overwork Matheson, testing the Canadiens' ability to adapt under duress. Finally, let's assess the long-term implications of this injury crisis. If Dobson's recovery timeline stretches beyond 2 weeks, or if Reinbacher struggles under playoff spotlight, Hughes may need to explore emergency options, perhaps accelerating another prospects call-up or adjusting forward lines to play more defensively. But for now, the focus is survival. The Canadiens built a roster capable of trading blows with a heavyweight to the Atlantic Division, but they can no longer rely on their standard tactical blueprints. Hughes in St. Louis must engineer a defensive scheme that protects a young defenseman, leans heavily on team-wide shot suppression, and trusts Dobes to stand tall against the Tampa Bay onslaught until Dobson's medical chart clears. The war room is officially on red alert, and every shift, every game, is now a test of resilience. I'm turning the floor over to you in the comments. Step into the GM's chair. Can the Canadiens survive the first round against Tampa Bay without Noah Dobson? And will David Reinbacher rise to the occasion in this high-stakes debut? Crush that subscribe button now to lock in your permanent executive access to this war room. Slam the like button to overpower the algorithm. Keep your sights locked on the injury reports, and stay fiercely tuned in for our next tactical breakdown.